I'm in a Honda Civic Type R FN2 Mugen. Next to me is the normal FN2. I've also got an EP3, an FK2 and the brand new FK8. And we're going to have a drag race.
Just before we start the race, please subscribe to this channel and turn on your notifications using the bell icon so that you're alerted of when we make a new upload.
Come on then, let's see what's going to happen. All the Civic Type Rs. That's a good start. I'm ahead. But this FK8 is coming now. FK2's taking me. Damn it! Whoa! It's really interesting just how fast this is.
So, surprise, surprise, the newest car was the quickest. The FK8 covered the standing quarter mile in 13.9 seconds. The FK2 was next, finishing in 14.2 seconds. The FN2 Mugen took 14.4 seconds, and the FN2 and EP3 were almost a complete dead heat at 15.4 seconds, though the EP3 was just a fraction ahead. To see how much you can save on a new Civic Type R, click on the pop-out banner on the link below the video to go to carwow.co.uk.
Right then, what we're going to do now is have a rolling race from 30 miles an hour. We're all going to be in second gear, so let me just get into second. And we'll pull level, then I'll give us the countdown. So, 3, 2, 1, go! Oh, this picks up super quick! Oh, the VTEC, yo! This is fast! Oh no, the turbocharged cars have gone. They have gone. That's what happens when you got almost twice the torque. I think we'll call that a day. This Mugen though, woo, doesn't half fly. Now we're going to do a brake test from 70 miles an hour. So let's see which one stops in the shortest distance. Everyone's level. If you click in the top right hand corner of the screen, I want you to vote which car you think is going to stop in the shortest distance. And we'll hit the cones, full emergency stop. Let's see if you guess correctly. Oh, no way! That is interesting. That is super interesting. So that sort of went as I expected. The newer the car, the shorter the distance it took to stop. Apart from the FN2, the normal one, which I actually thought would stop in the longest distance because it's heavier than the Mugen. It has more basic brakes. So I would have thought that it would have taken longer to stop than the Mugen. So it would have been in between the other two. But it wasn't. It was actually the shortest overall, which is just weird. Don't know why that happened. Maybe it's got some better brake pads or the guy driving it just cheated.
However, there can be no cheating when it comes to which of these cars is the most fun. So now I'm going to rank these Type Rs to see which is the best. And in last place is the FN2, which came out in 2007 with that gobsmacking design.
If you ask me, this is the best looking Civic Type R to date. It was a bit of a disappointment in terms of the engine because all rivals like the Golf GTI now had turbochargers, so did the Ford Focus ST, with loads of mid-range punch. This high revving, naturally aspirated engine with, VTEC, still only did 201 horsepower, which is one more than the old car. So, yeah, you still have to rev the nuts off it, which is fun, but a bit harder to live with every day. Perhaps the biggest problem with this car, though, was the fact that, unlike the old one, it had torsion beam rear suspension, and it just didn't handle quite as well. It wasn't so playful. It's harder to get this car moving around. You've also got stability control as standard, which is a good thing on the road, but it does indicate a move to a less fun vehicle. Can't fault the steering too much. I mean, it's pretty sharp, but then the car does eventually start to understeer.
My fourth favourite Type R came out in 2015. It still used cheapo torsion beam rear suspension, but thankfully didn't suffer the understeer or lack of mid-range power of the FN2.
Now I'm in the FK2 Civic Type R, and this was a big change for the Type R because it went to turbo power, 2-litre turbo with 310 horsepower and 400 newton meters of torque, and when it comes on boost it doesn't half go. It also uses VTEC, but in a different way. It's just on the exhaust camshaft to spool up that turbo. Another thing about this car is that you get a limited slip differential as standard to really put the power down. You can feel it just clawing at the tarmac as you exit a turn. It's absolutely brilliant. And it's got so much grip, this car. It really is dead grippy. It's a wild beast. And despite all that torque, you don't get any torque steer, not when you accelerate. Part of the reason for that is some clever front suspension geometry which stops the torque steer. It's brilliant. What's not so brilliant is this car on the road. The suspension is so fun. It's really vicious and it bounces you about all over the place. You do have a Type R mode down here. Press that and the suspension gets even firmer, and then it's just crazy. You'll probably see me bob about now, look. Yeah. Yeah, and that is the biggest problem with this car. It's a little bit too hard to live with every day. It's its downside, but on track, it is an absolute riot.
But if I was going to pick one Civic for driving on a circuit, then it would be this.
In 2009, Honda released this, the special Mugen version of the Civic Type R, and they cost £38,000, but they were a little bit special. So it was lightened, it only weighed 1,233 kilos. It had low stiffened suspension, it had bigger brakes, it had lighter wheels, stickier tyres, and a completely rebuilt engine with new internals. As a result, it had 240 horsepower, and it makes this noise. It sounds so awesome. Also, I'm going to slow it down because on this car, you really can feel when the VTEC kicked in, yo. I mean, it's revving to over 8,000 RPM. It's completely nuts. And I love it. I mean, this is special. It's a race car for the road. Actually, it's not great on the road. The suspension is so hard, it's just so manic that really it's only any good on track. But what a special thing.
And this brings us on to my second favourite Civic Type R ever, the current model.
So the FK8 Civic Type R has pretty much the same engine as the FK2, so 2-litre turbocharged with that reverse VTEC thing going on. But it has 320 horsepower, so 10 horsepower more, but the same 400 newton meters of torque. And really, all intents and purposes, it feels exactly the same. Where this car is different is that there, I've got rev matching, so I can just knock down a gear like that. I don't have to heel and toe, and it matches my revs for me. It's really good. You get the same sweet manual gearbox on it. It's lovely. Biggest thing though is a slight difference in the handling. So you've got all the aggression, if you want, of the FK2 and the poise and that diff driving it out of the corner, but under heavy braking it just feels more stable. And part of the reason for that, I'm sure, is the fact that you've now got on this car independent rear suspension, and it gives you a big improvement. It also gives you, see, it likes to move around. It also gives you a big improvement in terms of the comfort levels. So this car, you can easily live with it every day, especially as the adaptive dampers now have a comfort setting, and then it's perfectly civilized. It's absolutely wicked.
But then back in the day, so was the original, yet it didn't look anywhere near as stupid.
I remember when the EP3 came out back in 2001, because that's when I started as a motoring journalist, and it blew me away, this car. You had the Golf GTI Mark IV, which was just had 180 horsepower. The Ford Focus ST with its 170 horsepower. And this came along with 200 and an engine that revs to 8,000 RPM. You know, you basically had a granny's car, which was just turned into something completely mental. Loved it, and I love it now, especially the gear shift. The gear shift is epic. This is one of the last cars that had no driver's aids, and it's got quite a lively chassis. So you can imagine quite a lot of them getting crashed, because if you give it a bung into a corner, it will totally go sideways. I mean, it's utterly, utterly mega.
And it's this fun factor which is why for me the EP3 Civic Type R is the best of the bunch. But do you agree? Please click on the pop-out banner to vote which is your favourite Civic Type R, and also comment in the box below. Please like and share this video, and don't forget to subscribe. And if you click on the video windows, you can watch more of our drag races.